I'm very happy to be joined by Zach Tolan. So Zach, thanks for joining me. And could you share a little bit about your business?
Sure. So I have been a private music tutor for the last 20 years. And the first 15 years or so of it, I would drive to students' homes about 1,000 miles a week to 60 or 70 different private lessons. So all around West Michigan. And it was a lot of work organizing the schedules. I'd have to make a northeast quadrant on Mondays and a southeast quadrant on Tuesdays. And it was 6 days a week. And it was very fun work, though. I love it, because kids are so exciting. But the driving, the gas mileage, the wear and tear on the vehicles, the winters, there were the problems with the way the profession worked. So eventually I decided I needed to start utilizing more online lessons and getting students to come to me. So like a lot of teachers, I started to do this dance where I transitioned students to my house for lessons. And then I started making virtual courses for some school districts. And eventually my business started to come primarily, 80% of it came from the school districts that I was making the virtual courses for. And I thought that was going to be wonderful. It seemed like the golden goose kind of job opportunity. However, the state started changing their funding, and when the program started to get cut, all of a sudden I realized I had put the majority of my eggs in that basket. And if they decided to pull the funding, then I would effectively be out of a job, and I couldn't exactly just go apply to another school district to say, hey, I want to make music programs for you. Can we just start that up? So I was on a hunt, and I was on a very worried hunt to figure out how to get my business to be able to still work online, ideally from home, and make it work so that I had a diverse array of customers instead of just the school systems. So that was my big problem, and that's where I started to find you.
Yeah. So you found your way into my world. I think you said that it was originally you heard me in a podcast that I did years ago with Amy Porterfield.
Yep.
And you found yourself into my world, and then how did that journey go?
So I was on the hunt for anything I could find that would help me understand how to just reach out to the broad market. And so I was consuming podcasts and books, and I found all sorts of things that claimed to be able to work. But after hearing, you listen to enough of these things and you start to realize that some people are on top of others. There's a hierarchy, and some people learned from others. And it seemed like all of the points of the pyramid started to point up to you. I found very many of these people who they were just, they said you were the guy, the one who started it. And I love people like Mozart, like Leopold Mozart was the teacher of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. It's fascinating when you can find these experts who are the ones who create these kind of prodigies. They create these subsets of themselves, these copies of themselves that can go out and, use it in different ways. And you were at the top of that pyramid. Again and again. And so I thought, okay, I need to listen to what he has to say. And you were still active. You were still out there teaching. And I thought, yes, I found a mentor. I found a guide for my problem. And that's what brought me to Product Launch Formula.
And so then tell me about your launches. Tell me about what happened next.
Well, it became a whirlwind. COVID was hitting, and you were doing a launch in response to the shutdowns across the country. And I was worried more than ever that the school systems were going to be cutting down the funding because of COVID. It was already the case that some of my districts were getting shut down, and my programs were getting cut. And so I thought, who knows what's going to happen with this? It was more up in the air than ever. And I thought, I've got about 5 months before the next school year starts. This guy says he coaches people of all sorts of disciplines, products and services of all kinds. I think I'm going to listen to what he has to say. So I started joining your launch workshop, and it was a 3-day intensive. And at that point, that blueprint especially, that blueprint you made for the Product Launch Formula, that was my guiding light at first. I thought, this is what I need. If he's got a blueprint like this that can walk it through step by step, someone who knows nothing about marketing, nothing about internet marketing, I looked at that and I thought, if I do this all makes sense. This is how I'm going to communicate what I do, because it's different. I work with young kids especially, and parents are skeptical of getting young kids onto a computer to learn piano. And more now because the whole world has had to do so much online learning, but at the time it was unheard of. And so I knew I was a fish going upstream. And the way that you articulated your messaging, because what you do is pretty, unique and specialized too. And I thought, if he can communicate like that, and I can learn to communicate what I'm doing like that, I think parents are going to see why this is not just competitive with in-person lessons, but it can be better. And that's what we started doing. My team and I started to come back together. I'd had teams over the past, and they would grow, and then my program would get cut, and I'd have to dissolve it. And so I thought, okay, let's hit this. And within a couple months, the way that you structured your learning, it resonated with me, and I was able to apply that in a way that communicated the value I could add to people. And I had twice as many sign up in a single, my very first launch. I had twice as many sign up as I'd ever taught in my life. So my peak for teaching lessons before was 69 students in 1 week. And after my first launch, I had 159. So not just double, but some odd multiple. Anyway, and I was blown away at the response, but you had the blueprint, you had the formula. And so I was able to take it and apply it and just show up and serve, and anyway, bring the energy, and it's still going. Now I'm in my second year, and it's going into even more new directions that I would have never expected at first, things I never anticipated, but great new directions.
159, and were they signing up for, was it video lessons then at that point? Because you weren't doing one-on-ones with 159 people.
Nope, these were live classes, group classes. Oh. So take a bunch of kindergartners and first graders and put them into a class of 15 or so, and then have keyboards set up on their side. And then I've got my keyboard kind of set up right here. Like I can teach right from Zoom and then do screen sharing so they can see what I'm playing. And anyway, and we just do it like song by song.
And did they sign up for like on a weekly basis, or did they sign up for X number of weeks or X number of months?
So I was really nervous. I saw a lot of other people launching. Part of what's amazing about PLF is the community is so large. You can find other people who are doing something very similar or something related enough so that you can get coaching from them. And when I started seeking out what other people were doing, I was able to imitate little pieces of their model and put it into my model. And a lot of people did year-long programs, or what would have been customary with semesters, but I was really nervous about that. So I just said they can sign up month by month. And so it was like a $47 a month, or if they had 2 kids or wanted to sign up for 2 lessons, it was $77. And if they had 3 kids or wanted one student to take 3 classes, they could do $97 a month. So those were my price points. And my goal then was to keep them. So if they signed up for the first month, then what am I going to do to deliver to make it worth their while to keep going a second month, and so on. So
I'm just pulled out my calculator here. So I mean, that sounds like it was in the $7,000 a month, somewhere in there, depending on how many took the multiple kid option.
If they had all been the 47 a month, then that would be right. But it was a little more like 11,000 because the mix between the 3 price points.
Okay, so it was 159 sales, but some of them were the higher price for more kids. So you're actually helping more kids than 159, and all of a sudden, $11,000 a month, and of course people don't stick forever, so that's it's not always going to be $11,000 a month, but still that had to be just amazing.
Sticker shock, yeah. It was. I think sticker shock's not quite the right word, but for me, I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was unfathomable. A few months before, I just wanted. My goal was $5,000 a month so that I could replace the income I was making. That's about what I was making with my programs through the schools and all my other private lessons put together. So to all of a sudden have that more than double, it was, I could sleep at night all of a sudden having months and months of extra money in reserve.
And Zach, can you just talk a little bit about the difference in your lifestyle of driving to all those different clients and doing 1,000 miles a week to what your life is like now with a digital, a digital business, basically?
Well, okay, I don't want to get all, okay, it's hard to describe the emotional transformation because that's been the biggest one. When you're driving that much and you're just in a little car, you're literally worried for your life every day. Like you see, I would call it, I don't mean to be offensive, I would call it the idiot of the day. If you drive enough miles every day, you see someone doing something they shouldn't be doing on the road, and it's scary. And so I got whiplash once from getting rear-ended, not my fault, but you know, there were hazards that came along. You wouldn't think teaching piano lessons would be hazardous, but in Michigan, in the snow, in the winter especially, it can be very hazardous. So with that, with the income and the flexibility and the job security, because now my customer wasn't just like one paycheck from the state of Michigan, it was over 100 different families saying, I want to learn from him. I want my kid in that class. And that would mean that for me to lose my job, I'd have to lose all of them at once. And that's what I liked about how my job was before I was working, making courses that the state of Michigan would pay for. And I missed that. So when I got that back and I was working from home and I had all this extra time, it started to feel like I was in retirement almost. Just because, you know, it's just 2.5 hours a day, 4 days a week. And that's my committed teaching time. And everything else is, I get to sleep in, I get to make breakfast with my son, I homeschool my son, we get to spend more time together, we play more video games, we go out to the park more, like the family dynamic is better, I get to be more creative, I get to practice when I want, when I have an idea for a new product or a new song that one of my students would like to learn, I can just sit down and do it. And before it was list keeping and I don't keep lists like that anymore. I keep an inventor's binder of my favorite projects that I'm just working on, making better. So total transformation.
So if I'm doing the math right, you said your commitment is 4 sessions a week at an hour and a half each?
2.5 hours, yeah. It's at 16 different sessions that are a half hour each.
Yeah, so 10 hours a week is your commitment.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. It's actually less. It's actually 8. There are little breaks in there, so there's like half-hour blocks where I can just go like make sure my son's okay.
It's a lifestyle for you. The income has become great. The security is great, but it's really also just really built around your family and being present with your family and the lifestyle.
And Mr. Mom was part of your story that always resonated with me. Like I was thinking, like Jeff wants me to be on a case study. Like I'm gonna really speak out to the homeschool dad, private music teacher niche, because there's so many of us out there. But for me, it's a dream come true. Like you talk about how do you face it, like making a life of your dreams. I didn't think this was possible a year and a half ago.
Amazing. So, let's talk about a list and list building. I mean, you didn't come into this with a huge list or anything.
Almost zero, yeah.
A list of 0.
Yeah, basically. I had customers from the previous many years, but that list was so old that many of the students had already grown up and graduated from school, so they weren't viable list anymore. Yeah, how I list build it, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Well, at the time, I had no idea how to do it. You really emphasized from the very beginning that your success in part had to do with your obsession with list building. And I have not been obsessive about list building, but I did know the metrics showed from several of your other trainings that if I could get about a 5% conversion out of my list. So you taught me that you're not going to get them all. You're not going to even get half of them. If you get 1 out of 20 on your list, then you can make a viable business. And for me, each student, if they were worth $47 a month, or somewhere between $47 and $97 a month, then if I could get just a small bit of students, that would be enough to get to my $5,000 mark. So I thought 100 seemed like a number I could definitely achieve. So I just needed a list of 2,000, and that was my 5%. So I set out on Facebook ads. I started doing free workshops, which was a lot of the help of your coaches, the PLF community coaches. You can just leave comments in the lessons, and when you're not certain about something, you just ask a question, or on the Facebook group, and they're so helpful. And the community of people, when you're not sure how to run something, even you just get stuck with the Facebook pixel, you just ask a question about how to install a Facebook pixel or something weird like that. All of a sudden, I wasn't going to Google anymore. I was going to your search network because it was faster and better and more reliable. And they walked me through in baby steps. So, because I'd never done any of that before.
A lot of people, they might have something they wonder if they can actually, if it works to teach online. So you were always doing individual lessons. is it possible to teach music online? How has that experience been for you? Is it still, are your students getting the results? Are you getting the warm fuzzies from working with them?
Yeah, the relationship is better than ever for a lot of reasons. The first thing, I guess, was in order to get people to believe that it could happen, I didn't want to try to convince them. I just wanted to show them. So my lead magnet was inviting them into a free piano camp, week long. It was a free piano camp, basically. And they could sign up for as many sessions as they wanted. And I sorted them out by grade level. So I'd get my kindergartners and first graders together, and, because they don't do well with sixth graders in the same class. So I made just a few different sessions. And then for about 2 hours each day, I would go on for 4 or so sessions that were each a half hour. And I would just put a Facebook ad out that said, free kids piano camp, show up, it's on Zoom. They'd show up on my landing page. They would sign up for the class that seemed right. I didn't even make a video. I just wrote a long form copy explanation of, hi, I'm Zach. I make courses for schools. And because everybody's in lockdown and you're looking for things for your kids to do that are constructive, then if you have a piano, or if you can even download a free piano app on a tablet or a smartphone, sign them up for piano camp and we'll start playing songs on day one. And so I picked out some easy starter songs, fun songs like Twinkle Twinkle for the little kids and Star Wars for the older kids, and some pop music and some classical music. And over the course of 5 days, a good bit of them would show up. And within that time, that was enough for them to see the transformation. And when the next week came along and I said, hey, if you want to join another camp, then we're going to have another one for free. And I did it for free for the first 4 weeks. And I thought, okay, I'll at least pay for my Facebook ads. So I said, if you've already been to a camp and you want to join another one, hey, sign up for my school year program. It's $47 a month. They said, okay, let's try it. No commitment and no risk, then sure. And I gave a fun or your money back guarantee. That was the promise for them, because parents are nervous about putting their kids in front of piano lessons. It's so often associated with tears and frustration, and that's terrible. So that's part of my personal quest, is to make learning music fun again for all these kids who try it and they have this dream and then it gets squashed. So
I love it. That's great. So Zach, one more question. For someone who's watching this, just wondering if this could work for them. They're not experienced marketers. They aren't experienced having an online business. They're not super polished. What would you say to them?
Yeah, it can work for you. Absolutely. Anybody that has a dream, whether it's spending more time with your family or taking a little bit more control, a lot of the case studies I watched when I was going through, when I was learning about PLF, a lot of them were unbelievable to me. They were so far up in the sky. I thought, I just want a little more job security. If I could just get that, that'd be great. I just need to learn this. And so for people, I think if they come in even with a modest expectation and they just do a fraction of what you teach. I did not watch everything you have. I have not studied everything, and I don't implement it super well either. I just kind of got the gist of it and threw it out there, and and it still works great. So yeah, so come in, participate. If you want to change your life, that's one thing. If you just want to do a little better or try something new and see if it works for you, then yeah, you're in the right place. So I don't think, and I still look around at other programs, and I still find so many of them are your former students. Anyway, yeah, they're in the right place. So try it.
Zach, congratulations. It was an amazing pivot for your business. You built security, you increased your income, you've built this lifestyle where you can be present with your son, your family. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff. This is wonderful. I really, really am so happy. So thanks.